Cressy, and I am actually a really busy musician in town. I play in a top 40 band called the Mighty Untouchables. We play like 100 events a year. I do play organ for the Padres there, just for the day games, and then I play organ for the Gulls. So I'm very busy, but it's very rare for me to actually get to do something like this, where I'm playing piano solo for a captive audience and just playing the stuff that I want to play. So this is really cool, and it may not have ever happened if I hadn't heard from my friend Nick, who said, "Hey, come and do this." So, okay, let's do it. So I'm glad you guys are here to indulge me for this afternoon. I'm going to play for you a mix of jazz covers, pop covers, and then quite a bit of my own original music. I released an album 4 years ago of Hammond organ and big horn section stuff, and I'm going to be adapting that to piano, so we'll see how that goes. And then I also have a new project. It's called Dumosa, and it's more meditative solo piano, simpler pieces. So we're going to mix it up, and you'll hear a lot of different styles today. And here we go. I'm going to start with a piece by Vince Guaraldi. This is one of my favorite pieces to play in the month of October. It's called The Great Pumpkin Waltz. does this piano seem like it's moving away from me as I'm playing? Did you notice that? I think it is. Let's see if we can slam the brakes on. You guys come every week. I was wondering if that's something you kind of laugh at everybody that happens every week. No. That's part of the show. There we go. Much better. Crawling. I'm going to play an original of mine now. This is off of my album Cali Native 4 years ago. This song was originally written for a Hammond organ and a 5-piece horn section, and now I'm going to play it on the piano. This is called Master of Whispers. This next song is a pop song from the 80s. You may remember it the first time around. The song, all of a sudden, everybody started covering the song again, maybe because topically it's kind of become relevant, although it never stopped being relevant. But it's by a band called Tears for Fears. It's called Everybody Wants to Rule the World. guys recognize that song?
Yeah. That was one song.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to transition. I'm going to play a couple songs from a new project of mine. This is called Dumosa. The project is called Dumosa. And this is born of the pandemic. And when everybody was so stressed out, didn't know what to do with themselves for a year, I missed making music with people, and I started writing at the piano. And I wanted to write simple melodies that people could listen to and kind of help them calm down. And also I wanted to tie in one of my big passions besides music, which is now my career. So my hobby is gardening and California native plants specifically. That's a big passion of mine. So a lot of these pieces in this Dumosa project, they're simple and they each have something to do with some aspect of nature. Sometimes some of them ambiguously just general nature concepts, some of them very specific California nature things. So I'll play a couple of those now. This piece is called Daybreak. And forgive me, I'm going to read, even though I wrote these, I have to read them because I don't have them all memorized. Here's another one. This song is inspired, it's called Baby Blue Eyes, which sounds like it's about some girl, but it's not. There's a flower called Baby Blue Eyes. It's a Nemophilia menzizii. It's a really pretty California wildflower, and it's really about that flower. So yeah, song about a flower. I'm going to play a piece from my past, and by that I mean from high school. This was a piece that I used to play all the time. A lot of people, musicians, career musicians, they have to decide at some point whether they're going to be a musician or be something else, and sometimes that decision's made for you. In high school, I was super into sports, soccer, wrestling, and every year something would keep happening. I kept getting injured or I wouldn't make this team. And what I would do is I would come home every day and practice the piano. And that eventually led to me just I don't know, it's going to be music for me. But one thing that really kicked off my appreciation of piano, like made me think, oh, this is something cool and I actually like playing, was when I discovered ragtime and Scott Joplin. And so this is a piece that I used to come home and play all the time. And this is a rag by Scott Joplin you don't hear very often. He has, his greatest hits, Maple Leaf Rag and stuff, but there's a lot of cool stuff that you don't hear by him. This is one of my favorites. It's called Weeping Willow. And let's see what happens here. I'll try and give it mild treatment, but it's funny, Scott Joplin was very insistent that you don't do much to his work. In fact, on every piece of music he wrote, he'd always write, no fast. Don't play it too fast. It says it right here. Not fast. And people would play it fast anyway because it's fun to play it fast. So I don't know if I'm going to play it fast or slow. Maybe we'll just go medium, of teachers in the room or harsh critics, but you can tell I am not, and I never have been, one to get every note right. But I kind of go more for vibe and feeling and interpretation, you know. Beethoven himself said he'd rather hear something played more spiritedly than just perfection. Anyway, I can never get there. I can never, and that's why I could never play classical music for a living, because, oh my gosh, how do they do it? How do they play every note without playing a wrong note, you know?
Nobody does.
Nobody does, right?
Eagles messed
Really?
up in their last concert.
Who was that?
Eagles.
Oh,
We had
well.
discord on two guys playing guitar.
Really?
But we could not tell. I couldn't.
Okay, well, that's good. That's
I
good.
got a question here.
Yeah,
Benny Goodman's combo piano player Teddy Wilson.
yes.
He was once asked, what's the essence of playing great jazz? And he said, making your mistakes sound good.
That's right. That's right. That's really it. He was on something. All the great jazz musicians know that. Okay. Speaking of which, let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to play another original piece now. This one I've never recorded, and I've been meaning to. So I'm going to play it for you now. It's called On the Bubble. You know, it's kind of inspired by a great jazz musician that we lost this past year. I should say something about him because he meant so much to me. That's Chick Corea. I don't know if you know about Chick or are familiar with his music, but he was one of the great jazz pianists of the past 50, 60 years. And he meant a ton to me. I saw him a ton growing up, and it was really kind of a shock to us all when he suddenly passed in February this year. Nobody was expecting it. As he was concertizing, doing Facebook streams until right before he passed. So it was a real shock for us. And his playing is really a part of everything that I write. You know, I can't divorce his influence from what I play. So this one sounds a whole lot like think I'll play another jazz standard for you. I've been banging on the piano a lot today. Let's try and play something a little more chill.
That's lovely. So we can buy your music?
So I have my album that I released 4 years ago. It's organ music. So it's Hammond organ. It's like a funky organ and horn section. That's kind of the premise of it. And so there's 8 songs on there. And yes, I have the CD for that. You can buy that here, or you can go buy it online as well. You can listen to it if any of you stream music. And then I also have those Dumosa pieces, and I'm going to play a couple more in a second here. Those you can't buy online. Well, you can't buy it physically, I should say. There's no CD. But you can stream them. You can buy them on iTunes. I don't know how many of you guys do that, but that's mainly written for streaming, and it's all there. And there's a lot. I churn out a lot of that stuff, so you can find it there. Mm-hmm. So here is a jazz standard called "But Beautiful." It's by Jimmy Van Heusen, and he writes some of my favorite chord progressions. I really love the way his music sounds. I mean, I love lots of composers, but there's something about every piece that he writes. It's like, oh man. Musically, it sounds so rich. So this is a little interpretation of "But Beautiful." Thank you. Now I'll play a couple more pieces from my Dumosa project. Let's see. What can I play? Oh, you know what? Here. I'm going to medley two pieces. So I said each one of these has a message, and I won't tell the whole story of each one, but the first one is called Preoccupation, which has a double meaning because there's a kind of tense vibe to it. It's contemplative, like as if you're preoccupied. But then it also has something to do with the fact that technically anytime we're in nature, we're occupying land that has already been occupied. You've heard the phrase occupied land. And it's like our presence in nature is restorative and healing, and it's also a little intrusive, so we always have to be aware of that when we are going about our business in the natural world. And then I'm going to transition into a song called Where Trees Once Stood, and that one might be self-explanatory, but if you ever drive up in Cuyamaca and you see these vast hills where just 10, 20 years ago, there were tons of trees. And these wildfires have decimated those hillsides. And yet, there's hope because you can also see signs of life with 5-year, 10-year saplings growing up. And you know that hopefully, in another 40, 50 years, it will look as it did before. So it's kind of, there's a cyclical nature to it. So these are two pieces, back to back. think we only have time for one more. So I mentioned at the top that one of my gigs around town is that I am the organ player for the Padres. And I'm sure many of you followed along the season. It started with such high hopes, and then the last 2 months, very much the opposite. Real bummer. I thought today, early October, I would be in Petco Park playing, but no, sadly, we're all done. So I will play, I think this might be the last time I play this piece this year. Probably it is. But I thought I would do an interpretation of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. You know, it may be aspirational for next year. So here we go. This will be my last piece. Thank you very much. Let's see here.
everybody. Join us next week. We'll be hosting Ines Urwati. She'll be playing the piano as well. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
My gosh, you're welcome. You're so talented.
Oh, thank you. Well, so